Welcome to the commentary booth where we watch and you guessed it, commentate on the week that was in movies and TV. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator Jamie Apps, and each week I'm joined by a rotating cast of colour commentators to help you find your next viewing treat. This week I'm joined by Impact Fee Technician, who lists their favourite movie as A Nightmare on Elm Street and favourite TV show as Golden Girls. Welcome back to the show, Corrina Mabey.
Hello again.
How's everything? You're not frozen at the moment?
I was frozen over Christmas. It's the coldest Christmas in like 5 or 6 years, I think, in Florida.
Oof, no thank you.
Yeah, it's been a little crazy. Everybody was in shock because previously you could go to the beach on Christmas and it's not the thing anymore.
Yeah, you went from Australian style Christmas to proper US Christmas, freezing cold.
Yeah, so cold in fact that the lizards down south froze. I don't know if you know about that, but can educate you on Florida things.
That's pretty cold.
Yeah, all the iguanas down south in like Miami and like Fort Lauderdale and stuff like that, they all freeze and fall out of trees.
Oh, good. That's fun. It's like a drop bear.
They like, I guess, yeah, I guess it's like a hibernation status that they go into where they're alive. They just literally
They
like
can't
freeze and
move.
then fall out of the trees and they're everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fun.
it's yeah, it's raining lizards.
Good. Whereas here it has been 30 plus degrees, boiling hot. I don't want to leave the house mode.
Yeah, it sounds gross for you. That like, I don't know if that's average for Christmas for you
Yeah,
guys or
that's
not,
pretty
but
normal.
it sounds gross. Ugh.
So this week we're moving into a new era with the commentary booth. Moving forward, each episode is going to focus on only one topic, which will allow us to go a little bit deeper in our conversations before we then give you our individual ratings for the topic. Our rating scale is a 5-point scale and is the same scale as used on Pario's written reviews. Under the Pario Gem scale, each score means the following. A 1 is terrible and avoid at all costs. 2 is meh, watch it if you can't find anything else. 3 is fine, which is kind of the stuff that you would think is mindless midweek viewing. 4 is great and is perfect to watch over a weekend. And then 5 is a brilliant show or movie which you should watch immediately and put your phone away so that you focus on the movie. To kickstart this new era, Corrina and I have decided to watch Roald Dahl's Matilda the musical. So let's dive into our review. First up, Roald Dahl's Matilda the musical, 2022 musical, fantasy, comedy, drama adaptation of the 2011 stage show of the same name, created by Matthew Walkus, Dennis Kelly, and Tim Minchin. And that stage show is in itself an adaptation of the 1988 novel Matilda by Roald Dahl, which was then turned into a movie previously, which has now become another movie. It's very confusing, I guess, that there's one book, 2 movies, but they're very different movies. What did you think of this one sort of before we dive in too deeply?
It wasn't terrible. I had the problem where I kept comparing it to the movie that came out in the 90s because I grew up with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to keep reminding myself like that was not a musical. It was just a fun kind of comedy. So I had to kind of switch gears in the middle of watching it and just remember it was a musical and it was an adaptation of the musical.
Yeah, I had the same thing where the whole time I was in my head comparing it to that original movie, and like I enjoyed this, but obviously that original movie has like set a really high bar for what this story can be, and I think this adaptation it had a tough ride to try and top that, but I think it did an admirable job of giving a new spin on, like a very, very new spin on this with the musical elements, and yeah, fun watch. I don't think it topped
Yeah,
the original movie though.
I don't think it topped the original just because when you're trying to, I think, create a musical and, you know, constantly transition into songs, it's hard to get the comedy vibe right. Whereas in the original movie, everything was, you know, one shot after another, you know, jokes here from the parents all the way down to all the students. Whereas this one is just, hey, let's keep it going with the next song kind of moment.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely makes it a little bit more difficult to sort of tell the story like in a smooth motion because yeah, you do have to kind of you start to tell a story and then you have to kind of veer off and quickly do a little song and then come back to the story, which makes it a little bit difficult. But yeah, overall pretty
Yeah.
enjoyable.
But it was good. It was decent. I didn't hate it.
Yep. Yeah, it wasn't like the Cats movie, which was just atrocious.
I'm glad I didn't watch that. I contemplated it, and then you told me don't bother, even if it is free, because I'd hate my life. And I go, okay,
Yeah,
I won't watch it.
that one is very bad. I do not recommend that to anyone at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, doesn't sound fun. At least this was better than that.
Yep. So in this one, like we said, it's based on the book and follows it pretty closely in terms of it's all about Matilda Wormwood, who's a neglected and mistreated child from her parents, who then slowly develops psychokinetic abilities to deal with her horrible school principal, Miss Trunchbull. Started streaming on Netflix on Christmas Day 2022, starring Alicia Weir as Matilda Wormwood. What did you think of this new interpretation of Matilda?
I liked her. She had a lot of character. For someone so young, she really portrayed well, I think, for Matilda. Um, it was just, you know, trying to adjust to the fact that she sang all the time.
Hmm. Yeah, I thought she was good, but like we said, didn't top Mara Wilson's portrayal in the original Matilda. Um,
No.
I feel like she was a different portrayal of the character too. This one was like much more feisty, I think.
Yeah, she seemed a lot more, I don't know, feisty is a good word for her. But I don't know, she was just a brat sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Her parents were kind of right at times where she was torturing them before they sent her
Yeah.
to Cruncham Hall.
I mean, she kind of, I mean, she was kind of justified in her actions because she was so neglected, but at the same time, she did kind of go to extremes. Like, I've been mad at my mom before, but I've never contemplating doing that.
You've never decided to dye your mum's hair green just for the sake of it, a la the Joker.
No, I dyed my hair pink instead.
You didn't want
Yeah,
to
no, that was
glue
definitely Joker
her
vibes.
hat to herself, hat to her head. I did like that they
And
kept
no, that
the
didn't. That's
hat
not fun.
glued to the head in.
Yeah, up until the end, that was a nice thing. Like at least that wasn't forgotten about, and they just kind of showed it. Because sometimes you know they overlook it, and it's like, oh, one time it was there, one time it wasn't. How did that get
Hmm.
off?
Yeah. Um, Another like interesting twist on this movie too was there was no older brother, which was weird. I kept finding that so weird. I was like,
Hmm.
where's the other kids?
Yeah, that was kind of strange because they were supposed to be like foster parents, I thought. Like, well, I guess I'm thinking, wasn't it back to like the original movie where they were foster parents? Maybe I'm wrong.
I can't remember. Maybe.
I don't know. If they were foster parents in the original movie, I'm gonna portray them right, and another score for me. If not, we'll just say that you said that, and
Oh,
you're wrong again.
um,
That's how I like it.
I guess it makes more sense that if there is only one kid that they are so neglectful as parents because like I did always find that a bit weird in the original where that they had two kids but they neglected one just because. And it was like, wait, it's not like you accidentally had a kid and just didn't want a kid. Like you have two.
Yeah, sorry. first time might be a surprise. The second time, I mean, that's on you.
Yeah. Whereas at least like this one, it was like somewhat of a surprise to them, and for them to be so neglectful kind of made a bit more sense. Like it wasn't outrageous that they just strangely hated their own kid. Like, which is weird, but also a
Yeah.
little bit more logical when you've only got one.
The, yeah, I hated the fact that like he kept calling her boy because he constantly wanted a boy and wasn't accepting her as being a girl. Just call her a boy.
Mm-hmm. Some of the actors, Lashana Lynch as Miss Jennifer Honey. How did you find her?
She wasn't bad. I liked her. She kind of, I mean, the the original Miss Honey was still kind of, afraid of Miss Trunchbull, but kind of stood up to her a little bit more. I feel like this adaptation of her, she seemed a lot more intimidated by her for some reason. Kind of more like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So I'm just gonna let it happen.
Yep. I did like that it was a very different spin on this character to casting a black actress. Like it made it very easy to like separate those two characters and not link them or not really compare them all that much.
Mm-hmm.
And Miss Trunchbull, another actress, Emma Thompson played Miss Trunchbull in this one. What did you think of this character?
I didn't know that was Emma Thompson.
Yeah.
That was Emma Thompson? Oh, spoiler alert for me. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Wow. Man, they made her look terrible.
I guess that's kind of the point of Miss Trunchbull. She's
That is
supposed
kind
to
of the
be
point, but
big,
wow.
girly, gross looking, and they did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize that was her. Wow. That takes me a moment for to process that because I didn't know that.
What did you think of her as the character, though?
She wasn't bad. She wasn't as terrifying though. Miss Trunchbull to me has always been scary, and for me, she just wasn't as scary, I think.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, she was just a bully in this one. Like she wasn't terrifying, whereas in the previous one she was scary. You didn't want to mess with her. Whereas this one was kind of just like she's just picking on these kids
Mm-hmm.
and just being
Yeah,
a
I don't
terrible
know.
teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of appreciate the fact that they still like they didn't take out the cake sequence or anything like that. That's always been like a very staple moment in the Matilda movie. So I'm glad that they did not decide to take that out.
Yeah, that's like the ultimate Miss Trunchbull bullying, where she just forces Bruce Bogtrotter to eat the entire cake after he steals one slice. And
Mm-hmm.
well done to this little kid, he ate the whole cake.
Yeah,
Although
I'm,
technically he
I'm sure
failed her
I
challenge
could. Why?
because she said
Did you see crumbs on the plate? I saw little
she
crumbs on
said
the plate.
every last crumb, and there's like big crumbs on that plate. Like, no, you failed. You might have ate the
Yeah.
whole cake,
If
but
I
there's
gave
still
that plate to
bits
my
of
kid,
cake
she would
there.
have licked the bowl clean. Yeah. Not doing a good job, buddy.
But yeah, technically Miss Trunchbull was right. That feels weird to say.
I can't believe you sided with the enemy.
Can't go wrong with a good bad guy.
That's true.
You can't have a good guy if you got a shit bad guy.
Yeah, you're not wrong, I guess. All right.
Because I'm
Fine, you're
always right.
right. Mm, once in a blue moon, whatever.
And on that front, Bruce Bogtrotter, played by Charlie Hodgson Pryor. I liked his portrayal. I just hated the fat suit that they put this little kid in.
Oh my God. It's like when you're a kid and you're trying to act like you're fat, or like for girls, sometimes, like when we were younger, we'd put like pillows under our shirts and pretend we were pregnant. That's exactly what it reminded me of, and it was terrible. Absolutely wretched looking.
Yeah, like it was a fat suit, but it was all upper body. And I guess that was because they still needed him to do all those dance moves, and like if they put him in a fat suit, he may not have been able to move properly. But it just looked funny because we could
Yeah.
see he had shorts on and you could see his legs, and it's like, this kid has really skinny legs, but then he's just round.
He kind of looked like a chicken almost.
Yeah, I kept thinking he
Like
looked like
Chicken
he had
Little.
dwarfism.
There, yeah, that too. Because he's short too, so it didn't really help.
Yeah, it was just all the proportions were all out of whack on that kid, and it was like, oh, it kept pulling me out of it because every time they showed him, I was like, he doesn't look real. He looks fake.
No. And it wasn't even rounded either. Like some fat suits, they looked okay and decent. This one was just like flat. It was just flat and poofy.
Yeah, it was like you said. It's like they just put a pillow up the front of his shirt.
Pillow
Like,
under
that'll do.
there. Yeah, no, it was terrible. It was absolutely wretched.
Like, I think in a stage musical, that probably would have been fine. But when you've got a movie production budget, it's going to have, like, close-up moments, and we're going to see his legs. He's going to, look like a weird chicken. You
Yeah.
needed to do a bit more effort there. Even if they just, like, CGI'd his legs to, like, make him look fatter, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or just, like you said,
I mean,
cast a fat kid.
yeah. I mean, they did that in that horrible Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie where they casted a fat kid for Augustus. So it's not that hard to find a chubby kid.
Mm-hmm. And then
But
the other... Was this a new character, Sindhu V as Miss Phelps? I don't remember there being a Miss Phelps in the original.
I don't remember. I don't think there was, but I could be mistaken. It's been a minute since I watched it,
Yeah,
but I did like it.
I guess maybe she's like in the book, but yeah, I don't remember her being in the movie. And I liked her character, but I also feel like having Miss Phelps or Mrs. Phelps and Miss Honey, like, it split who Matilda was supposed to be like bonding with, which kind of it ruins that relationship that that she's supposed to have with Miss Honey, which in the end, spoiler,
Yeah.
Miss Honey adopts her basically. Like, I feel like having Miss Phelps in there kind of distracted from that, where she kind of had that book bond and story bond with Miss Phelps, but then somehow she ends up with Miss Honey, who they really don't have all that much of a connection with, apart from like a couple of interactions at school.
Yeah, it was strange because I feel like in the first movie or the original movie, she had a more defined relationship with Miss Honey, and they were very, very close. Whereas this one, it was like she split her time between both, so it was a bit confusing at times, and it kind of led for a messy bond for either of the characters with her, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, like I wasn't a big fan of how that impacted the story, because yeah, like you said, in that first one, she has those two characters are kind of merged into one, and like the bond that Matilda develops with Miss Honey makes a bit more sense, because Miss Honey introduces her to the world of like literature and books and opens up her mind to everything, and has a more paternal or maternal bond with Matilda, and it makes sense that in the end they end up living together. Whereas this one, it was kind of like, I feel like she probably should have went with Mrs. Phelps.
Yeah, because I feel like they had a very strong connection from like her giving her books to read to her checking in on her and asking how she was to being very interested in her stories. It was just very strange that she didn't have that bond with Miss Honey
Yeah,
in this movie.
yeah, especially like with the ending. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel that ending needed to be tweaked, or just like we said, merge those two characters into one. Even though I assume is not faithful to the book, it just makes a bit more story sense to do so.
Yeah. Mm.
And then the other two sort of major characters in this story are Stephen Graham as Harry Wormwood and Andrea Riseborough as Mrs. Wormwood. What did you think of these two interpretations of Matilda's parents?
I don't like them. They're probably my least favorite character in this movie. But again, I'm really biased because Danny DeVito was great in the
Yeah, he killed
original.
it in the first one.
And if I'm not mistaken, Rhea Perlman was the mom in the original one, and they're married in real life. So they just had a more on-screen kind of connection, which made for even better comedy bits, I guess, in the movie. But with this one, the mom was just really irritating to me.
Yeah,
She was super irritating. She reminded me of one of those like Real Housewives of Orange County or something, but she just couldn't afford to be one.
yeah, but and like she also like I get that she was supposed to be that, but she didn't come across as that as much as in the original. Like the original one, she's out going places, drinking, doing her like dance
Getting her
classes and
nails done, her
stuff. Yeah,
hair.
this one she was kind of just
Yeah.
there for 10 minutes. Hated having a kid, and that was it.
Yeah. She was at home shopping or whatever, buying stuff. They didn't even really explain all that. Um, and then the dad was just kind of flat too. Like, I didn't have a connection with those parents as much as I have with other movies that have had really bad parents in them. For like Harry Potter, even I've had a better connection with the aunt and the
Hmm.
uncle, Matilda's parents.
I guess the positive though is these two aren't in the movie anywhere near as much as the
Mm-mm.
original parents. So I guess it makes sense that we don't have that
Yeah.
connection. But yeah, I think Stephen Graham as Harry Wormwood, like the highlights were definitely the moment when his hair gets dyed green unknowingly by him, and then the the hat glue moment. Apart from that, it was kind of just like, whatever. I don't really have any connection to these
Yeah.
characters, and they're kind of just pushed to the side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was kind of a letdown, but again, it's I had to keep in mind that it's not necessarily a comedy family movie. It's a musical, so it wanted to focus more on the musical aspects and the songs than it did on the humor in
Yeah,
it.
I did laugh at the end though when Harry jumps out of the car and goes, "Come on, we've got a plane to catch to Spain in 45 minutes. You have a whole carload of crap, and you're not even at the
They
airport
had
yet,
a
like a truck."
yeah, they had so much junk furniture and stuff like that in the back of the truck. I'm like, Where are you going?"
Yeah, don't think you're catching a plane there, bro. Not with only 45 minutes to go.
Yeah, no, no way.
Especially if you're trying to catch a
It was
Southwest plane at
that
the
was
moment.
bonkers. Oh my gosh. No, thank you. There's I stick to certain airlines and there's a reason for it.
Yeah, I've heard I heard prior to this that Southwest was a terrible airline, so now that they're cancelling flights left, right, and centre, not surprised.
Yeah, and now they can't even really blame the winter storm for it. Now it's just bad planning or something. I don't even know. But good luck to
Yeah,
them.
I heard it was something like they don't have a system that like physically tracks where their staff are. Like they don't check in when they get to a new airport or something. So it's kind of
Ugh.
like a assumption and guessing game on, okay, this plane went here, so they're there. But then if that plane then goes somewhere else with the same crew, it doesn't register that. Like it tracks it as a whole separate crew each time. So now they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't technically know where all of their staff are at the moment. So they keep cancelling flights because they think we don't have the staff, and then they do have the staff. So yeah, whatever it is they're doing,
Yeah.
they
I've
need to
also
sort that
heard
out.
yeah, I heard that they don't have a centralized hub either for their airline, which is very strange.
Yeah,
So that could be a whole other bag of worms
yeah.
or can of worms, sorry.
And we
But
mentioned this being a musical and the music being a major part. What did you think of some of these songs?
um truth be told, it wasn't that memorable. The most memorable thing was them spelling things terribly with letters that just don't make any sense.
Mhm.
Um, but it was just, there's nothing for me to be like, oh yeah, I want to go listen to the soundtrack for this now. Nothing really hooked me into it. Which is bad because I love musicals and, I was really optimistic that this might be a new one for me to dive into and it just didn't
Yeah, it
do
was
it for
definitely
me.
no Hamilton musical where like I
Mm-mm.
immediately wanted to go and listen to all those songs again. This one I was kind of like, The songs are there, but nothing jumps out as great or memorable. But like you said, some of these songs are going to
Yeah.
ruin spelling for a few kids in the future.
Oh my God. Extra with an X. That's how they started spelling extra.
Curious with a K.
That was, yep.
No,
Yeah.
Curious with a Q
And it
and
wasn't,
Cage with a K. It's like,
yeah.
no.
And they didn't just do it once. They did it another time too in the movie. Like later on, they did it again. I go, really? Once wasn't enough,
Yeah,
huh?
there's going to be kids that watch this and then their
Man.
spelling is going to be all jacked up because they're like, oh no, you spell Cage with a K. Teacher's going to be like,
I
no, you
mean,
definitely do not.
it's like you guys spelling the word tire with a Y.
That's the correct spelling. I don't know what you're talking about. And as much as we hated their bad spelling, I guess it did pay off in the end with the spelling bee.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it did pay off in the end, but yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of parents that have to then re-educate their children on how to spell some certain words.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm a living testament to that. My last name is spelled weird, and everybody used to spell my last name the same way as they would spell the word and vice versa. So,
But like, it would have been fine if they misspelt every word because you could just be like, just ignore it. But it was just like,
but they didn't. They spelled some of them
yeah, it
right.
was just like a selection of words here or there. I was like, oh no, what are you doing?
Yeah, like, what is happening? It just got progressively worse too.
I feel like it was one of those
It was like
things
they
where
just gave up.
they wrote the song and then they did the like graphics parts. And they're like, oh, how can we get the words in there? And then they were like, oh, wait, crap. None of these words actually, the lyrics for this song don't match the alphabet so that we can't actually make this work properly. So we're just going to roll with it. And there's going to
Right.
be a couple of words here or there that are just spelled funky.
Yeah, that was something.
And although the music was pretty inoffensive and unmemorable, I thought the dance numbers and the choreography was great, especially with it being majority little kids.
Yeah, no, they did fantastic. I don't know if they were like part of a dance troupe or if they were just random kids that they found, but they were fantastic. They definitely have a far career ahead of them if they want to pursue that at all, because they were on point, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
I imagine they've gone to like dance schools and stuff to cast the majority of the kids in this thing because, yeah, these dance numbers, they were big, grand, really intricate dance numbers. Like they weren't basic 10-year-old
Mm-mm.
dances. Like these were full-on stage musical level dances with people moving in and out and up and down and all over the place. So I thought the dance numbers were cool.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I preferred the dance moves over the songs, which is really surprising for me, but they were more memorable than some of the music.
Yeah, I kind of started zoning out the actual songs themselves and just focusing in on watching these dance numbers and how all of the people like
Mm-hmm.
moved in and around and revolved around each other. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. And that they integrated, like they were on the jungle gym doing dance moves and all over the place on the playground. I'm like, whoa, what? I couldn't have done that when I was that young. Jesus.
And then visually as well, we had these intricate dance numbers, but I thought presentation wise, this was a very bright, colorful, kind of wacky interpretation of the Matilda world, which I think is pretty fitting for a Roald Dahl book. Like it was, these were real bright, colorful settings and places, but then we suddenly take a very dark turn.
Yeah, and what was nice is that they did show that transition, whether it be in the background or with just objects around you. You saw everything go from bright and cheery, one moment to being in Miss Trunchbull's office and it's dreary as hell, and she just has video cameras. It was just a very day and night moment, and I like the fact that they were able to project that in all aspects and elements.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely something they've carried over from the stage show where you have those. Here's the bright, happy Miss Honey class scenes where everything is pinks
Hmm.
and yellows and oranges and like big bright colors, and then we go into Miss Trunchbull's office and it's greys and blues and dark greens. Like that was really cool and obviously like
Yeah.
transitioned from the stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I liked it.
And then overall, my favorite moment or favorite quote from the whole movie, I've got a newt in my knickers. That made me laugh.
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say
Well,
that.
that was
Because you're a
that was
child.
definitely the funniest moment of the whole movie, I think.
Yeah, that was pretty good, honestly.
Apart from that, there wasn't.
If you take anything away from this movie, it's
Yeah, apart
that.
from that, there wasn't a huge amount of comedy. Like it was musical with a story, and then
Yeah.
this one really ridiculous moment of comedy that got me to laugh.
Yeah, I was. It's because it hits you. Like you're watching this movie and you're, involved in whatever's going on, and you're used to it being a certain tone, and then that happens, and you're like, oh wait, they just pulled a funny.
Especially when it comes from Miss Trunchbull, who goes from angry bully to then ridiculous character jumping up
Yeah,
and down like trying to get a lizard out of her pants.
yeah, that was hilarious.
And then before we wrap up, couple of little bits of trivia that I found. So Emma Thompson was not the original choice to play Miss Trunchbull. Any ideas
Hmm.
who their first choice would have been?
Um, okay, I'm gonna go out on the limb just because I love her so much, but Gwendolyn, whatever her name is from Game of Thrones and Sandman, that's who I would love to have seen her played as.
Okay, that would have been a cool choice, but
Yeah, but I know
yeah.
that's not it.
So what they originally wanted to do was to echo what they did in the stage show and not actually cast a woman in this role. Their original choice
Hmm.
was Ralph Fiennes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But then, like, they've been wanting to make this movie for quite a while and it kind of just fell into a bit of production turmoil and eventually he was unavailable. So they went with Emma Thompson instead, who I thought was a good choice, but I would have loved to see Ralph Fiennes in this role.
I don't know, because then I would have been looking at it like, that's Voldemort. Like, that's not Miss Trunchbull, it's Voldemort.
But you also didn't know it was Emma Thompson, so
With Shut up! I can't believe I didn't know that. Oh my God, she just looks so horrible.
yeah, so I'm sure they could have done something cool with Ralph Fiennes.
Yeah, as long as he gets a nose, it's cool.
And then we mentioned Myra Wilson, the original Matilda, and Pam Farris, the original Miss Trunchbull. They both turned down cameo roles in this movie, which I'm a little bit sad about. I think that would have just notched it up one level.
Yeah, because like we saw with Wednesday, where Christina Ricci was, had a cameo appearance and she was a side character, it would have been great to have them somewhere in there, even if it's just like a neighbor or, have the original Matilda play Miss Phelps or something like that.
Mm.
But that would have been really cool. But, I get it. It's been so long, they probably just said, whatever.
Well, for Myra, it was she didn't want to travel to England to film for just one day, which is pretty fair. Like,
Mm,
it's a long international flight for
it's understandable.
8 hours work. Like, no. And then
Yeah.
for
Mm,
Pam, she had a scheduling conflict because this movie took so long to finally get up and rolling. By the time it was ready to begin production, she had a theatre show that she had to begin rehearsals and preparation for, so she couldn't do it because of that. So a little bit disappointing that they couldn't get those two in. I think that
yeah.
would have been cool, especially like you said, if they cast Myra as Miss Phelps. I think that would have been a nice little touchstone that would have made that character make a little bit more sense.
Mm-hmm. So, oh well.
And then,
My ideas always go wrong.
and then at the end, we get the Crunchham Hall is renamed to the Big Friendly School, which was
Yeah.
a nod to another Roald Dahl story, The Big Friendly Giant.
I never saw BFG. I never saw the movie and I never read the book. I feel like I'm missing something.
It's a pretty decent book. But yeah, it's just big friendly school, big friendly giant. It was a subtle nod that if you're
That's
a Roald
cute.
Dahl fan, you pick up on it. Otherwise, you're kind of just like, oh, I guess it's just trying to be obvious on how different this school is from Crunch'em Hall.
I mean, I was just upset that they had a full-blown carnival in their backyard, and I do not have any of that at any of the schools around here.
Yeah, it's probably not the most conducive school setting for learning.
Sure it is. You know, you have a carousel. Here's all your animals. You can teach the kids all about their animals and colors. I think it'd be great.
And spelling. Did you notice at the end too, there's a giraffe? And earlier in the movie, there was a sign that was like, no giraffes allowed or something.
I didn't even notice that
Yeah.
sign. I was wondering, I was like, why is there a giraffe here? And then I just looked at it as, oh, there's a carnival, so I guess that
Yeah,
makes sense.
I remember seeing the no giraffes sign and being like, that seems weird for a school. Why would there even be a giraffe at a school? Like, doesn't make sense. And then at the end, that's why.
There's a giraffe at the school. It's casual, whatever. Don't mind me walking my giraffe down the road.
Okay, so to wrap up, in terms of ratings for Matilda, the musical, what would you give this one?
I'd probably give it like a 3. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. And I probably won't watch it again.
Yep, I'm the same.
But,
I fell on the 3 Pario gems because, yeah, it's kind of mindless midweek viewing. You can sit there, watch it, maybe be on your phone. If you fall asleep, you're not going to be like overly disappointed. And like you said, it's not one that I'm desperately going to go back and rewatch. Whereas the original Matilda, if like I'm flicking through the TV channels and Matilda's, I'm like, this will do. Whereas if I saw
Alright,
this,
so
I'd just
adding
be
that
like,
to the
let's
list of
keep going,
things.
let's find something else.
Yeah. Where's the original one, please? You get excited and then you're like, oh, wait, never mind.
Actually, I'm surprised. Did Netflix have the original one?
I don't know. I mean, I own the original one, but I'm going to say that's because I have a child and not because I want it.
And do a quick search and see if they have the original one. Because if they don't, that's a major, miss.
I'll look and see if it's on mine too, because sometimes I get ones that you don't get.
They do not.
Really? I wonder if they have it on
Well,
mine.
at least not in Australia.
You got me all kinds of curious.
Yeah, because that feels like a missed opportunity to have people watch them both.
We also do not have the original one on here at all.
I'm going to check my
So that is kind of a letdown.
check my favorite app, Just Watch, and see what it is on.
If it's anywhere.
It is on Paramount Plus and Stan in Australia. So, yeah, that's weird. Or you can pay
That's
$5
interesting
on
thing.
Apple TV.
Oh, yeah, it's not actually available anywhere over here. Unless you want to buy it or rent it. So, guess it's a good thing I still have my entire DVD collection with useless movies
Yeah,
in it.
that's weird. I feel like Netflix probably should have just paid whoever it is to get that. And from the looks of my streaming, with it being on Paramount, it must be a Paramount movie, I guess.
Maybe. It would make sense though if they did have it because right before they released Wednesday, well, not even right before, but they've had the Addams Family movies on Netflix for the longest time. So when Wednesday came out, like people could have watched it prior if they wanted to. So that's weird that they didn't even entertain that idea for this one.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, it's a Sony. The original is a Sony Pictures movie, so that's weird.
Oh, that's
I feel like
strange then.
Netflix probably should have just paid whatever it was to get both on there this month.
Yeah, even if it wasn't that long, like if they just had like a 30-day contract or something for it, you know.
Yeah, just enough to sort of get people to watch. Because I imagine a lot of people, if they want to watch this one, might want to watch the original after or before it to refresh their memories, but nope, we've only got this one on Netflix, so yeah. Watch it during the week
Womp womp.
when you just want to sit on the couch
Yeah.
and chill out, not be overly
Yeah, put
invested.
it on when you're doing housework.
Yeah, you don't want to be overly invested and like focus solely on this. If you want to just chill out, listen to some pretty
Yeah.
unmemorable songs, but watch some crazy dances, this is the way to go.
Yeah, I don't even think it would honestly hold kids' attention. Like at least with the original one, there was like a lot of funny moments, so kids, would laugh about it or whatever. But with this one, I mean, I don't even think I could get Chloe to watch it, really. Even if I tried to pan it off that it was, a musical, because she loves musicals too. But
Yeah, but like even the songs aren't even like sing along tunes. They're kind of just there. Like they're kind of just
no.
songs for the sake of songs.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was kind of rough for me to watch it, but I mean, it wasn't bad. It just, I feel like it could have been a lot
Yep.
better.
Alrighty, that's Roald Dahl's Matilda the musical, reviewed, rated, all done and dusted. Thank you for listening to the commentary booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. You can also get the show early on Patreon at patreon.com/JamieUpsMedia. You can follow Corrina on Instagram at Miss Corrina Renee, and you can follow me on social media at JamieUpsMedia and at Pario Magazine. Thanks for jumping on this week, Corrina, and stay warm.
Thank you for having me.
The Commentary Booth is a fan-funded production of Jamie Ups Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, on Patreon at patreon.com/JamieUpsMedia. The following people supported at the publisher level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support.